Good evening, everyone. Hi, Alison. Oh, I'm glad you're loving your album. It's been very hot today. I was going to work on another one, but I was just too hot. It's been very wet, and it's supposed to be getting really, really warm for the weekend as well, which perhaps isn't a great move. Just give it a few more minutes, see if anybody else is going to join us tonight. Hi Carol, how are you doing? So, following on from last week, we did the front of page 1 and the back of page 1. Then we made our envelopes, which are going to be page 2. And after punching out my circle, I did find it after it flicked away. So those are good. I might do some more decorating on those after, but I'll just leave them as is for now. So for the front of page 3, I'm going to go in here, that one, and I'm going to take this page. Now, before you start on your second packet of papers, make sure you decide which paper you want for the front of your book and put that to one side. I mean, I think I've gone with that one originally, but I quite like that one as well, so who knows what I'll end up on the front of mine. So we're working on this page. Oops, knock everything over. So because the page is 8 by 8 and the paper is 8 by 8, I'm just going to take 1/8 of an inch off all 4 sides. Can't do it on that one. Now, somebody did ask me previously, oh, can you not take it all off one side? I guess you could, but it would mean you've got a white strip at one side and not on the other. So yeah, I'll just take 1/8 of an inch off each side. Oops. So now we've got a slight white border all the way round, and that will just sit on that page and give you a bit of reveal around the outside. Evening Wendy. Now, in my book, get your craft knife and a metal edged ruler. And what I've done is cut around the inside of these squares and left them so they open up like a door, for want of a better word. Be really careful, watch your fingers is all I'm going to say. So if we just get your craft knife and then just lift your paper up. That's not gone all the way through, so it's better to do a couple of, sorry, my head's in your way, a couple of lighter cuts than one great big cut and mess it up. I'm going to see if this moves. Right, I'll see if I can do it this way any better. I think the heat's got to my wrist and it's not feeling as strong as it perhaps usually does. So yeah, sometimes it's easier to turn your paper, card or whatever it is that you're cutting, just so it goes into a more comfortable place for you. So just cut that, there was a little tag there, and I'm going to do this one as well. So I tend to put the point of my knife in the corner and then just line it up, and again on this side. Oops. Just line them up. It's always better with a metal edge ruler, just because if you do make a slight mistake with a metal ruler, you're fine. If you've got a plastic ruler, you can actually cut through it, which is not a great move if you want to try and then cut something that's straight. Now I'm going to actually change this one up, and I'm going to have 4 doors opening on this one. So again, just line that up. And make your cuts. A bit boring watching me cut paper. So we've got that done. Now what I'm going to do, and it's one of the very rare things that I actually use red liner tape for, I'm just going to put red liner tape on the cross in between. Just going to lift this up, take the backing off, which if nobody was watching would come off straight away. So now you've got your red liner, just lift that off. So when you're doing this and you come to stick it onto your page, don't forget, if you've started to ink, you need to ink all the pages, which is probably easier to do before you start cutting holes in everything. But hi Nicole, hi Wendy, can't remember if I said hello to you yet. Score tape is good for the windows, it's just that I haven't got a score tape that narrow. I think it's only 1/8 of an inch wide. So I'm just gonna pop this and center it on my page like that. Now I want to be able to put photographs behind here. I want to leave the top free so you can slide the photos in. So what I'm going to do, we've got our double-sided across the middle. So I'm just going to pop, she says, and it's not coming out, a little bit along the edge. Then I'm going to leave the top so you can slide the photo in. Leave the top so you can slide your photo in. And just put your glue on the very edge of this section. And then just push that down on both sides. Now you can put a little bit of glue there, but just be careful, because sometimes if you put too much up it seeps underneath, and it'll block your stick your flap down, which is not really a good move. So what I'm going to do now is putting the ruler up against the side of the square, is very gently just push it up from the bottom and using your finger and just encourage it to go up like that. So if you do that on all 4 boxes, so if you keep it's easier to do it against a ruler than it is just to try and fold it on its own. So if you just stick a thumb or finger underneath it and just bend it up, and then it'll lay back down. Make sure it's straight. And just rub that up against there. And then pop that back down. So you've now got a page that has been, yeah. So it opens out like that. So you can, but it's open at the top, and you can slide your photographs in like that. So now we need to turn it over. And guess who stuck it on the wrong way around because I moved my, there we go. Do that after. So on the next page, I did a little bit of paper piecing, but it is the same piece of paper. So it depends if you want to use the same papers as we've got, but I'm going to change it up. So I'm going to use these two pieces of paper. So I need to trim the paper down to 7 7/8 square. So you're literally taking 1/8 of an inch off your paper, just so that it gives that little reveal. Oops. So, why is Facebook going daft? Hi Lorraine. Oh, don't worry about being late. Hi Helen. No, I don't want sticky flaps. So, I cut a border from here approximately 1.5 inches wide. Oops. What I'm going to do, if I turn my paper around, I can measure that to 1.5, which is going to go straight through my dragonfly. So I'm changing it now. So my border is going to be 2 inches. Which just goes down to the wing. And then I'm going to do another 2 inches from the bottom of that page. Okay. Move that out of the way. So I'm going to put these. So it's going to go just like that on the page, and then I'm going to cut a piece of this to fit on there. So if that was 8 inches, we've already cut 2, so we need to cut this at just under 6 inches. And that's both way. No, I don't want sticky flaps, Lorraine. So that's going to go in that corner. Put them straight. So I need to ink the edges. you don't have to ink the edges of your papers. It just gives a little bit of definition to them. I think so. Nearly finished with that. Now, when you pop them on your page, there is a slight gap in between. Now, if you go back to your paper pad and on the back sheet, across the bottom, you've got all your fussy cut images. Across the bottom, you've got a tiled row. So if you trim that off, you can then, once you've inked the edges, you will need to trim this down a little bit as well. Everything's sticking to me, so they're going to go like that. Pop that on. So I'm just going to need to trim that down slightly. And re-ink that edge. And that's going to go on there. And then in the kits there are some lace doilies. Now, oops, what I've done is you don't need to put, if you're going to put a huge doily there, and then I think I've got a 6 1/4 by 6 1/8 by a 4 1/8 photo mat. So if you're going to put, I'm not going to stick this down because I have glued that the wrong way round, so I will sort that out later. But if I put this here, use my tempera stick, in fact no, do you know what, I'm going to stick it. So if I stick that down like that, get it straight, and then trim a little bit more off that, stick this down, and pop that on there. And then again with this one, oops, bit of glue, and that's just going to go like that. So there is a tiny gap in between them, but if you get your paper strip and oops, pop some glue on there. And you can use the stripes to line it up so it's straight, and that will then cover that section there. Now if I open my second pack, which is stuck really well, go to the back page, take the second of the strips off, just line it up, and now we don't need to do this, you only need a tiny bit of this because that's going to go there. But your photo mat is going to go about there, so you only need 2 of your squares. So if you just ink your edges, blob of glue, and just pop that there. Make sure your edges are lined up, and then your photo mat goes about there. Now although you've got a bit here, when you have fussy cut some of your flowers out, they will actually sit over there. So I'm going to put, not going to stick the photo mat down just yet, because what I'm going to do is pop that there like that. Now rather than putting the whole of the doily underneath, we only really want that bit showing. So you get a pencil and just make a mark on this side. Get your trimmer and just line that up, the 2 pencil marks up on your trimmer. Cut that down so you've still got quite a large amount left. Then very gently just swipe over the edges, and you think there's nothing going on, but then when you pop that down, and I'm just going to lift the photo mat up, pop a little bit of glue on there. You don't need a lot because these doilies do take quite a lot of glue because they are quite thin, and just pop that down, and then you can layer your photo mat over the top. And then when you've finished all your fussy cutting, because don't forget, as well as all your floral elements on the back page, you've also got on the reverse of the front page, you've also got all your tags and sayings that you can cut out. So I layered some of those up. I put a tag at the top and then cut out your flowers, the clocks, and place them at the bottom. So I think I'll do this tag. And if you're really good at fussy cutting, there are some tiny, I don't know if you can see them, some really tiny butterflies on here that you can cut out. That may be a step too far because they are really small, but if you're bored when you sat in the sun over the next few days, you can always take them with you and cut your tags and everything out Just don't stay out there too long in the sun, because it looks like it's going to be pretty hot this weekend. So again, if you're fussy cutting things out, it's easier to move the paper when you're going round corners than it is to move your scissors, or get someone else to do it for you. Which I would if I could, but I haven't got anyone that'll do it. So I'm just going to trim this off. And trim that round. So ink the edges up just to get rid of those white edges. And then that will sit on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the glue on this side, so that when you've got your photo, it's only stuck on one side, so you can slide your photos underneath it, so that you can do that. And the same with the flowers. So the butterflies on this sheet they are bigger, although it doesn't feel like it when you're cutting them out. So I'm just going to cut out these two. And you'll find that if you're cutting this one out, you're not actually, because I'm going to layer something over the top, you're not going to see this stem, so I'm not going to worry about cutting that very gently and cutting all that out, because it's going to get covered up anyway, so there's no point in doing that. So I'll just cut round the leaves and then all your petals. Like that. And don't worry if you make a little slip up when you're cutting your petals out, because not every petal is exact in nature, so it might have had a little accident if a bird sat on it, so it might be a bit wonky anyway. So just wedge around the edge of the petals, and then ink the outside edges just to take that whiteness away. And then if that's sitting there, again, I just want to pop a bit of glue on that side, so you can still slide your photograph under there. And I'll just cut this one out. Now you are going to see a little bit of the stem on this one, so it is worth taking a little bit more time to cut the stem out and then just cut around the flowers. Let's have a quick read while I'm cutting. Carol, oh, it's going to be hot in Doncaster, and if you're all inside, I hope it's not too warm in the area where they're doing it. Make sure you've got plenty of water with you. Yeah, it could get very warm and sticky if there's lots of people there. I've actually got the house to myself this weekend because hubby is taking 40 6 to 8 year old boys on a cub and beaver camp, which rather him than me is all I can say. It'll be nice for them, but the thought of 40 kids under the age of 8 running around fills me with terror. So again, if that's going there, I'm just going to put a bit of glue along there. Attach that at the bottom, but you've still got, you can still slide your photo to go inside there. Once you've got your photo in, if you don't want to, you can stick it down, or if you're not sure if you're going to keep that photograph there, just pop it in, and you can put some more flowers up this side if you wanted, so that would hold the photograph in place, or stick your photograph down, you'll be fine. So pop that one over there. So the next page that we're going to do, which I think is 2, 3, get my, so it's this one. Now for this one I have, let me just choose my papers again. I'm going to use that paper, and I think this is what takes the longest. It's choosing which paper to use. So I want to use this section, and then I'm going to use the blue bits at the end. So I'm going to cut this section out here to approximately 5 inches. So if I just line that up almost to where the blue is and trim that off, and then spin it round and do it about 4 3/4 inches and cut it off again. Oops. So that is going to go in the middle. Then I want to do it so it's got a gap here. So this is the page that we're aiming for. So you've got your section across the middle, and then you've got your border edges like that, and then you've got your holes just to make your crisscross lace up back. Okay, now the easiest way I found to do this is decide where you want. I want to cut it about there. So get my trimmer, and I'm going to trim it there. Then what I'm going to do is get my crocodile. I've got the big bite crocodile, or you can use the smaller one. So this is, I'm going to do this every about 3/4 inch. So if I mark at 3/4 inch, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, 3, 3 1/4. Yeah, that should do it. But so that's our piece that we've cut. So fold it back on itself, just with your pencil marks on the back. And then I've gone, I don't know if you can see, for the smaller hole on the big bite. And I want to do it about 1/4 of an inch in, maybe a bit touch more in from the edge. So you just slide it in. Now on this one, you can move it up. You will find you can use an ordinary hole punch if you like. It's whatever you've got that you can use. I just eyeball it. Keeping them both together. And then move it along. Punch that again. But by putting the pages back to back like this, you know that your holes are going to line up exactly. Move that out of the way. So when you've done that and you open it up, your holes are going to line up exactly because of where you've put them, because you cut it back to back. So I'm just going to ink the edges. I don't think I've been to a craft show for years. They used to have them regularly in Manchester, but they've not been for a while. Right, before I ink the edge of that, so that's going to go slightly lower on the page, so there's a bigger gap at the top. So again, pop your glue on. And do it slightly down. Don't glue this section here down just yet. And the same with this one. Ink the edges. So that one's going to go there, so I need to trim that off. I'm going to put a bigger gap, so I need to cut that off about there. Make sure it's straight. Goes there again with that lift still lifted up. Then get your ribbon. Now I found it easier to start at the bottom and just feed the ribbon through. On both sides. If you can, try and roll your ribbon so that it makes kind of a point. So just twist your ribbon until it lies flat underneath, and make sure you've got roughly the same amount on each side. So then you're taking it and feeding it through, crossing it over. And again, try and make your ribbon lie flat if it can. Yeah, there's definitely not as many craft shows as there used to be. Like I say, in Manchester we used to have 2 really big ones every year, and one at Bolton, Port Sunlight, which is about an hour away. But there's not very many about anymore, which is a shame, but they say that not many people are crafting as much, which I'm not sure about, but people are, I think everybody's skin, especially with the way the bills are going at the minute. So we're just feeding the ribbon through, and if you get stuck, just take your pencil and poke it through. And just make sure it lies flat. It is a bit fiddly, but it is worth it when you get to the end of it and your page is done. So again, just feed that through. And if you twist it round so it lies flat, and just turn that round. And then there you go, so it all lies flat like that. And then again, push that underneath. And then we're pushing that through there. Make sure it's, so it then settles like that. So you've got a corset effect, and then just tie a knot in it. And then whichever way you want to do a bow with your ribbon. Now if you do it and find that you've got a lot of ribbon left like that, you could undo it and just thread it through. That bow's going to annoy me. There we go. I'm just gonna chop the ribbon off so it will sit as a bow. If I have a friend who's very particular about her bows, and she would, if you are bothered by them, put a small dab of glue underneath it and keep it in place, but like that. Now for the top and the bottom, I'm going to use a border punch. I'm sure we've all got border punches, and what I'm going to do is line it up. See if I can do it this way round, but I can't. Move it across. There we go. and punch. So you get your 2 strips, which can be used for later. You've got lots of little punched out bits, which if you were really, you could attach them to it. Now, so I'm going to attach that there, and it needs to be trimmed there because we only want it that wide. So then you move that across and it'll be trimmed there. So ink your edges. So that needs trimming there. And there. So just ink those edges. Pop your glue on the back. Now I'm just going to slightly overlap it just to hold that down. And again with this one, just glue along the back. And ever so slightly overlap it. Okay, so this top one, again, we're going to use that. We don't need all of that. So I'm just going to spin it round. Line it up and trim it off. So we need to trim it there, move that along and trim it there. I'm going to ink it first. And then I trim it down. And cut that off. So we're going to ink those edges again. Then we're just going to discover that it's pretty much the same on both sides. Pop your glue on, line it up and hold it down, and then again pop your glue on. Has anybody been buying anything from Sally Telly recently? I flicked it on today, and I think the first 3 shows, their offerings were something like £129 or £130, which I thought was quite a lot at the minute. So there you go, you've got that in place. Now what we're going to do is, wanted a photo mat there, so I did just a 4x4 photo mat. So that went there. And then I used, buried, the part of the doily that we had before that was left. So if you line it up and move that across, so it only needs to go to about there. So if we trim it across there, you've got your section of doily. So just line it up. So that section of doily can just go on there. So again, just gently ink the edges of your doily. Oops. A little bit of glue in the middle. And then just line it up at the top of your page. So that will just sit there. And then what you can do, when you cut out some more of your fussy cutting, okay, I did this one. Is pop one of your fussy cut items on the bottom there. I will sort that bow out because it's not great, but I think it looks like I've done it upside down, but we'll get that sorted. You're right, Lorraine, it is all collections of stuff. It's yeah, and some of them, you're right, they are silly prices. Although I did see something, I think it was at weekend, and the item they were selling was, I think it was £2.50, but then the postage was a £5. So I thought, well, that's a bit excessive really. But just cut these out. And it's a good job you can't see me while I'm cutting, because I've just realised I probably cut, when I'm cutting, my tongue's hanging out. So it is a good job you can't see. Quick ink round the edges. And again, small amount of glue on that side. Pop that on there. And you can still put your photo like that, and you can slide your photo underneath. So that's that page done. Now, as well as prepping for this, I've also today been going through lots of the, not the kits from Cal's, but the single papers, and from them I've been able to make up quite a few scrapbook layout kits, which I've put on one side because I'm really good. So I will be putting some of these in the shop later. So the layout kits, everything you need is in there except for scissors and glue. So this kit will, when it's all cut up and done, it will give you 2 scrapbook layouts, 12 by 12, like that. Like I say, all you need to do is follow the instructions and use your glue, and that So that is the Happy Days kit, because it says Happy Days on it. Very imaginative. So that's one kit that's going in. Then this is a rainbow kit, so called because there is a rainbow of coloured paper on it. And this just makes a single layout, although I'm pretty certain that you, with what's left, you can make another one. So you've got your brown card, you've got I think it's an acrylic title, End of the Rainbow, all your instructions, and then just tear your coloured rainbow paper into strips, and that gives you a scrapbook layout. And you've got all your card and all your coloured paper in that one as well. Then this one is Life is Beautiful. So again, on this one, it's a 2-page layout. So that's one of the pictures, one of the layouts that you can do. That's my hubby holding his belly in for a photograph. Full instructions. And that's printed the same thing twice. So that's the other kit, or the other page you can make with the rest of this kit. So yeah, that's the second one you can make from this kit. I'll pop that one back in there. And then this kit is quite a big one, and again you get to make 2 layouts. So that is how your layout looks. I've just added Explore in white through a stencil, but you get everything else. And when you open this section up, it opens out like that. So you get the back to that as well. So there's lots of places for your photographs on there. And then the other one, this with the sections that are left, you can make that fussy cutting the flowers, and that's the second layout that you get for that. So if you do scrapbooking, or you're wanting to start scrapbooking and you're not really sure where to start, those are kits that will do. They will be in the shop later on tonight if it updates properly. So that's just something to get you going if you wanted to have a go at that, or if you think, well, yeah, I can do that. There are more coming, but I am having to write instructions up, and I will get round to doing, like I say, there are a lot more, and I do have to say thank you to Julie Billingham for the Explore and the Life is Beautiful kits, because they were her original instructions that we've done. But something different for you to do, and get your photos off your phones, because I'm sure we've all got hundreds if not thousands of photographs on our phones, and we probably don't print as many off as we should do. So get them printed. Yeah, the prices are absolutely ridiculous, Lorraine. I was shocked. So yeah, so I will see you all next week, and we'll do the back of that page and one of the other pages. Just took a little bit longer with the lace up corset page. So I will see you next Wednesday at 7:30, and we'll crack on and do some more pages. All right, see you all soon. Bye.